Spencer! The mirror! It's doing the thing again!
My current view was provided by Constance, who was resting on Spencer's shoulder. He was seemingly very uninterested, with the mirror somehow managing to turn into a strange liquid and spill out onto the floor. The young man seemed far more engaged in writing that silly journal of his, while his spectral roommate panicked in the background. Spencer mumbled under his breath, the sound of his pencil scratching away as Riley was still trying to get his attention. I crossed my arms, resting my head on them as I watched with borderline obsessive curiosity. The little bird that Spencer decided to name Constance worked as both a living camera and a phone. I could talk to him through her, as well as see through her eyes. She was broadcasting onto an old television kept in my office. Its intended purpose was to watch over the town, though more and more lately it'd stay by Spencer's side most of the time. I didn't mind, as it allowed me to keep an eye on the new informant, make sure he didn't get himself killed. Although recently, I've been tuning in for reasons I can't exactly explain. It had almost become routine at this point to absent-mindedly turn on the busted-up old TV while I worked on other business, even smiling faintly as I listened to their ridiculous antics. The relaxation was short-lived, much to my annoyance, as my phone screeched awake, filling the room with a frantic voice of my secretary, Alice.
Sir, I'm so sorry to bother you unannounced, but...
Skip it. What is it now? I muttered, flipping through papers with a tired sigh.
I don't know how we got out of the facility, but...
Alice, calm down. Who are you talking about? Not a moment later, my ears were invaded with an obnoxious and annoyingly high, familiar voice. Oh, joy. It was him.
Hello, Ellie.
He squealed, causing the phone to clutter onto the desk, dropping it out of either surprise or irritation. Honestly, I'm not quite sure which. You'd think a few dozen guards combined with tight security doors would be more than enough to get one little headache out of my life. Apparently not, as he somehow always seemed to find his way back no matter what I tried. Honestly, it would be almost endearing if it wasn't so infuriating. The speaker end of the phone let out a loud, almost melodic squawk, before being crudely cut off by a loud slosh as a bubble of dark matter spilled out from it. Before I had time to react, it morphed and lunged out at me, causing me to stumble back. God, Cecil! I found myself flopped over onto the floor as it unceremoniously landed on my chest, practically knocking the wind out of my lungs. Within seconds, it had shifted into the form of an all-too-familiar and nauseatingly excited jester. Mayo! He squealed, nuzzling my cheek a bit too roughly before jumping onto my desk and scattering all my documents in the process. If I wasn't already enraged by his existence alone, I might have had some choice words for him about the disarray he was throwing my paperwork into.
Ooh, I missed you so much. We've barely had any time together since we came to Jabber's Realm.
Great. I'm positively overjoyed. Grumbling, I got to my feet and brushed myself off. I'll have to have a little chat with that incompetent scientist later.
Oh, don't be mad at Franny. It was never gonna keep me anyway. Not when my lord has work for me to do.
He giggled, pinching my cheek and receiving a flat look followed by a gentle slap away in response.
Lucky for you, Lord Jabberwocky has given me a new task. I mean, since they're already nowhere, my former job is basically all done. Time to prepare the next step.
He sang in excitement, babbling on and on about this nonsense. For as long as this leech has been in my life, he's always talked about his Lord Jabberwocky. Of course, I haven't the slightest idea who or what he's talking about, and he's never explained when asked. At this point, I just accepted as some imaginary friend of his and left it at that. Oh, yes, the Jabberwocky, I grumbled, picking up the many papers that were now laying all over my floor. Well, whatever gets you out of here faster. I trailed off as his neck began to stretch down from the ceiling. No matter how many times I've seen him shift his body into unholy shapes and lengths, it's never stopped being creepy. When did he get onto the ceiling, though? He stopped in front of the television that was still broadcasting the signal from Constance, eyes widening in curiosity.
Ooh, who's the new guy? I don't remember him.
He squeaked before dropping his whole body onto the floor in a wet thud, grabbing onto the TV. "Don't touch that!" With an uncomfortable elastic sound, I ripped him from the stand and carelessly chucked him onto the floor, which he of course didn't seem to mind.
Why, you spied on him. Is he your new friend? Did you replace me? Do you like him? Ooh, you're creepy.
"He's nothing you need to concern yourself with," I hissed and pulled him close by his ridiculous hat. "Look, I don't care what you do, but don't involve him or me in whatever nonsense you're brewing, alright?"
Don't worry, Mayo. I'll stay out of your hair. At least until Lord Jabberwocky asks me to do otherwise.
He replied with an apathetic giggle, squeezing out of my grip and opening the window while doing a handstand on the sill effortlessly. With a wave, he flipped over and out the window, and I could see him carelessly leaping from the rooftops off in the distance, his obnoxiously cheerful laughter fading with him.